In this video, you will be introduced to the AutoCAD command for creating customized blocks and Wblocks to be used in supplemental drawings. We will demonstrate this lesson by utilizing a previous assignment entitled 2D Furniture, in which we drafted the following plan view objects: a queen-sized bed, a double dresser, 36-inch square shower with floor slope lines and a 3-inch diameter drain, a side-by-side freestanding refrigerator, rectangular dining room table with 8 dining room chairs, a round 60-inch diameter dining room table with 8 dining room chairs, 3 upholstered style chairs including club chair, armchair, and a wing chair, plus a 2-cushion sofa with 4-inch armrests and a baby grand piano. In this video, we will create individual block and Wblock definitions of each object from the 2D furniture assignment. We will first define each object as a block definition. The second part of this video will instruct you how to define the block as a Wblock. The furniture blocks will be imported into the AutoCAD Block library to be used as the basis for the supplemental furniture plan. Let's get started. Begin by opening the previous 2D Furniture DWG file. We will prep this file to get it ready to become blocks of furniture. Create a layer for the annotation text. Refer to the AIA layer style handout created for this class. I am creating a layer entitled I-ano-fern_ID. The color is magenta. The line weight is 0.010 inches. The line type is continuous. Organize all of the text onto the layer just created. Pick on the Escape ESC key on your keyboard to deselect the furniture. Within the Layer panel, pick on the Freeze icon, which looks like a snowflake and is located adjacent to the layer definition. You might need to find the Freeze icon column first, and then pick on the Freeze icon adjacent to the layer name. Notice when you pick on the Freeze icon that the text layer is no longer visible in model space. To turn on the text again, simply pick on the freezer icon once more. For our purposes, we want the text toggled off, so leave the freeze icon as part of the layer definition. Why are we turning off the visibility of the furniture annotation? We will replace the furniture callout text with furniture tags later, and the tags will reference the object in an adjacent schedule in the furniture plan. Conduct a quick save. To do this, type the keyboard combination of Ctrl+S on a PC or Command+S on a Mac. The new layer definition has become part of the original 2D furniture file. It is time to save this file to be used as a block library. To do this, at the command line, type Save As, all one word, return Enter key. Type a new file name such as your last name _ Fern Blocks. In this file, organize the grid which frames the objects onto the Def Points layer. This will retain the grid if we need it in the future, but it will not become part of the plotted drawing. Pick on the Escape key, ESC, to deselect the grid line work. This next part is important. Make layer 0 the current layer. Also make sure that all of the object lines are organized onto layer 0. Layer 0 is the universal layer and contains transitive properties, meaning you can assign color, line type, line weight, etc. in any drawing in which it is inserted as a block. Start creating a block out of the queen bed rectangle. To do this, at the command line type block, return Enter key. This is the block creation dialog box. Start by naming the block you are going to define. In this case, it will be queen-sized bed, which I have abbreviated to be QBed. Under Source Objects, pick on the button adjacent to Select Objects. The dialog box will momentarily disappear so that you can select the objects you want to become part of the block definition. As soon as you pick the Return Enter key, after selecting the object lines, the block dialog panel reappears for you to continue the block file definition. Choose the radio button, Convert to Block. In the Block Behavior category, choose the radio button, Allow Exploding. We do not want furniture blocks to be annotative as they are drafted at full scale and should not be changed. Under the Base Point area of the dialog box, choose the button adjacent to the pick point. Again, as soon as you choose the button for the pick point, the block dialog panel will momentarily disappear. In this step, AutoCAD wants you to pick where you want the handle to be on this object, meaning where you pick on the object becomes the point or handle that is used when you insert the block into a new drawing. Let's take a hyperpause to look at different pick point examples. In the first example, the queen bed has a pick point along the top lying segment at the midpoint. This type of pick point makes it easy to use as a space planning tool because beds are typically placed adjacent to a wall line. Compare the same queen bed with a base point defined in the middle of the rectangle. A pick point in the middle of the bed does not help us when creating space plans of a bedroom. Let's look at one more example. In this case, the pick point was not selected at all. The pick point was defaulted to the coordinate shown in the block dialog box, which is located at coordinate 0, 0, 0. Let's consider one final pick point example. This is what occurs when you choose a pick point that is not located on the object at all. When inserted into a new drawing, the block appears to be floating in space. Again, this makes using the block as a space planning tool difficult to use without first placing it into a drawing and then moving it precisely where it needs to be located. Therefore, it is important for us to consider how an object is intended to be used by the designer using AutoCAD before we make it into a blocked definition. When you are not sure what the best pick point should be, defer to the handout guidelines. The handout provides practical suggestions for objects that are rectangular or round in shape. Back in the block dialog box, make sure that the block unit is defined in inches. Finally, be sure to add a description that is short but contains relevant information, such as the dimensions of the object. In this case, I will type the following: PV for plan view, followed by the dimensions, 60 inches by 80 inches. Then pick on the Create button to finalize the block definition. Notice, as soon as you pick on the Create Block button, you will find yourself in the Block Editor environment. In this environment, you can add more to the block definition, such as attribute text, but in this case, we are done creating the block definition, so pick on the Save button on the Block Editor band to end the command. The next part of this tutorial demonstrates how to create the right block definition of the queen bed. This process saves the block we just created, but as an independent right block or WBlock file. To do this, at the command line type, W, return Enter key. You are now in the Write Block Creation dialog panel. Notice how similar the Write Block and the Block Creation dialog boxes appear. There is a reason for this, as they are used in very similar ways. Make sure you know where you are saving each block. I recommend creating a file folder on your hard drive, which will contain the block library that you will be growing over time. Blocks and Write Blocks are the cornerstone of designing and defining architectural space. Beneath the Save location, choose the radio button for Block. Save the block definition you just created from the pull-down menu List. This list denotes all of the block assets embedded within the current file only. This list does not include any external block files. Once you select the block definition from the pull-down menu, all of the other options for the Write Block definition will be grayed out because these properties were defined when you created the original block. The block unit has already been written as inches, so it doesn't matter what you select here. Pick on the Write Block button. This saves the block into a separate, external file that can be inserted into any future AutoCAD DWG file. Repeat the process for creating each of the objects in this file, first as a block and then as a WBlock. save the final file one last time as a DWG file. Note that when you create a write block or a WBlock, you are saving each object as an independent file. You can see within the file folder that I created for this assignment, I now have the working 2D furniture block file, and I also have 11 individual block files as well. You should now have a total of 12 DWG files in this file folder.